Hi, thank you for joining me. I've talked about anxiety and OCD in other videos. In this video, I'm going to talk about scrupulosity, also known as religious OCD. This is a fear of God or a higher power. It's where someone is so afraid of doing wrong by God that they watch and scrutinize everything they do, say, and think, and they live in a constant state of anxiety because they're afraid of the consequences if they do something wrong. They may even be afraid of having what they see as an impure thought, so they might spend a lot of time praying, apologizing for their actions, and performing rituals. The name comes from the word scrupulous, which means being very careful, thorough, and attentive to detail, because with everything they do, say, and think, they're questioning whether it's good or bad, a sin or a virtue. They're always trying to atone for their mistakes because they're deeply afraid of being punished. Living with this condition is extremely difficult and distressing. It works in the same way as all other types of OCD, as they have constant intrusive and disturbing thoughts, which they try to relieve. People generally develop scrupulosity because of harmful, radical religious or spiritual indoctrination. It's not limited to any one religion. It happens in all faiths. It can even happen to people who don't have a religious faith. If they're given an idea that plays on their mind, there is a difference between religion and radical religion. Unfortunately, any religion can be misused. It happens a lot. It gets used as a tool to manipulate people. Fear is the weapon, because it renders you helpless and shackles you in chains. When people are in fear, they will keep doing whatever they think they have to do to feel safe. The fear of eternal damnation and going to hell is so great that people will do almost anything to relieve it. Human beings mess a lot of things up. There are some religious leaders who have scrupulosity themselves, or who really just want to control people, and they're not really as nice as they seem to be. They're saints in public and sinners in private. Just because they wear religious clothes doesn't mean they're a good person. There have been cases of people suffering abuse at the hands of priests and nuns who are supposed to be people of God. They preach their own distorted version of the religion to their followers, and this is the result. When people are brought up to be very God-fearing, they're vulnerable to developing scrupulosity. If your parents are scrupulous, they will pass it on to you. When it makes you afraid to live your life, it becomes a problem. Despite what the media would have you believe, this is not how it's supposed to be. Every religion states that God is peace and God is love. Every religion states that God forgives. It's not supposed to put you into a state of fear. The problem is that people take it to the extreme and demand too much of you. I have some experience of scrupulosity. I have Asperger's syndrome, and because of that, I'm especially vulnerable to things like this. Because I have high anxiety, I have an overactive imagination, and I have OCD. From when I was very young, I felt like the world was out to get me. As I got older, I started to have more fearful thoughts that God wanted to punish me or teach me a lesson for not being virtuous enough and not being a shining example to the rest of the world. Really, for being a normal person. I hadn't done anything really bad. I was just living a normal life like everyone else. But the idea of this angry, punishing God played on my fear. I have long since realized that trying to be perfect is an impossible task. Getting things wrong, that's just being a human being. Looking at it logically, the idea of being condemned to hell for simply making a mistake or not being completely pure and virtuous all the time, that wouldn't work. Heaven would be empty because no one would get in. There are around 10 billion people on the planet. If we were to be struck down for any small thing, God would be very busy. All these ideas of a vengeful God came from people who were too scrupulous. As it is with any other form of OCD, Scrupulosity needs psychological help to be overcome. It takes time, hard work and patience, but it can be done. Radical religious teaching will only do you harm. Whatever your faith, stay away from people who have extreme views and put fear into you, because it's supposed to help you, not terrify you. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching. See you next time.